Allegheny College. And well, I did get your original report here. I did read it rather quickly, but I did get through it. And what I understand you presented here today is the response to questions people had to this original report. Is that correct?
Yes.
Just a few comments on other comments were made. When you look at in and out migration of workers, you know, the county development office and the state Fed have numbers. You know, we're a little different in the central core of the state of Maryland. We work very closely with Pennsylvania and West Virginia. I mean, we're surrounded Pennsylvania and West Virginia more than we are in Maryland, in both counties. And you could get that information, how many people cross the border to come to Garrett or Allegheny from Pennsylvania or West Virginia or vice versa, which would give you probably some idea percentage-wise maybe if you, in your numbers here, how many jobs you think will be created, how many might actually reside in the two counties. When you talk about the housing market, you know, it's a known fact, and it's going to get even more defined here in 2015, that it's cheaper to build in Pennsylvania, West Virginia as in Maryland. And there's a lot of people moving from Maryland to Pennsylvania, West, if they're building a new house, because it's cheaper to build one. They still work here, they come back across the border to work. In 2015, when you have to have sprinklers in new homes in these two counties, the cost of a house is going to increase considerably. So when you look at you know, your housing and how many houses may need to be built or whatever, keep in mind a lot of those are probably going to be done on the other side of the border just because of economics. You know, I've always said that we have a triangle economy in Garrett County with tourism on one point, other businesses on one point, farming on another point. And I think the point that his other business is growing pretty considerably. When it comes to property tax, tourism is probably the biggest thing when you consider Deep Creek Lake with the values of the properties there. But when you get into employment numbers, when you take this other business scenario, those numbers are higher than people employed in the tourism business. And so we derive another big tax from that, which is income tax, which the county can piggyback on the income tax, which I don't know if you computed all this into your thing or not, because all restaurants and all hotels aren't directly related to tourism. Some of them are for travelers, which I don't consider tourists, traveling through the area, stop and eat and stay or whatever. I don't know if in this first report, I might have read somewhere in there, did you look at the impact that the local tax revenue from drilling would bring to the counties and what positive things they may be able to do with that otherwise they wouldn't be able to do if they didn't get this revenue? Is that computed in here anywhere?
I forgot to mention, we are going to include a severance tax table in the report. In the original report, we did not have the severance tax in there. So the new report will actually have that. I forgot to mention during my presentation that, but we actually have a table of the severance taxes that each county would receive under the various drilling scenarios. So then the discussion becomes sort of what could the county do with that? That's a decision the county has to make in terms of does it want to mitigate some of the challenges that might occur because of property values, does it want to mitigate some of the health costs that are raised here regarding sort of do we have adequate healthcare issues, adequate healthcare infrastructure.
And in the decreased value, you talked about places where you drilled and capped and that. And again, I can't remember, but I think you might have. Did you look at the accident dome in Garrett County? Is that where this came from? Because there's been a lot of drilling there, vertical, no horizontal. Were those properties looked at, and have they decreased or not?
I don't believe we looked at those.
Well, I mean, that's something that's local right here, where the drilling took place years ago. There's still wells there. They pump it in and out to store it, to pump it in back out. So it'd be interesting to know if those property values changed in any way.
We actually, the accident and storage dome, I believe, if I'm correct, is off limits, and we did not include that where a well would go.
Well, I
So
know
that's
that,
in the buffer zones.
but your comments were that where drilling is taking place, property values decreased. Drilling took place there before they used it as a storage site. And actually, they do drill a couple new ones every once in a while. So, I mean, that is local, so if you want to look and see what impact it may or may not have on property values locally, I think that should be something that's looked at. And I agree with, I think Paul mentioned it over there, about going to other states, and I think I mentioned this to you, because I got late to the one in Allegheny College, I didn't hear the whole thing, I said, you know, take a little trip over to West Virginia, where they have a lot of tourism. Get down to Stonewall Jackson Resort, see if it's had any impact on them where they're drilling all around there. Pretty busy day I was over there, but they could give you a good idea whether it has an impact or not. But I think we can talk about property values and use this generalized property. And I'm not saying they don't. I'm just saying you have a local site where drilling took place since the 50s, and every once in a while they drill something again there. But it is storage where you got gas coming in and going back out. So it would be interesting to know if those property values in that area are any different than any place else in Garrett County.